welcome back to the Big Room, a movie podcast. We're back to doing movies now.
Actually watching movies again.
Yeah, we did shows for like 1,000 years because we got sick.
Yeah.
We're back though. We watched, unfortunately for
I
everyone
know.
listening. So
Yeah.
the random bucket's back. We pull a ticket that's in the bucket with a movie written on it every single week. We did this in season 1 of the Big Room.
Wow.
Season 3 now. We're back at it. And we pulled 12 Angry Men from 1957.
Yeah.
But if you're not interested in that, maybe you'll be interested in listening to me complain about how I'm aging first. So it was just your birthday. Happy
It was.
birthday.
Thanks.
You turned the big 3-0.
Yeah. Woo.
Marching ever closer to death. So you turned
Yeah.
30.
He gave me an existential crisis.
I did. It was fun. You had one. You turned 30 last year, and you were...
I did not take that well.
No, you did not.
Well, I was feeling fine, and then Cameron goes, a
third of your life
is over. The
Great.
fourth tipping of the hourglass is tipping. And then he said that my dog won't make it through my 30s. And I was...
Oh,
that was it.
Cameron.
Elfie won't.
Well, yeah, but
He's
you don't
right, but
say
it was
that.
Yes,
Just, it
you
was
do.
just like bang, 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 one after the other, and it was like 12 o'clock at night. So then I
you
was
gotta
just like,
pad those.
It wasn't my finest moment.
it was funny.
I was a little tipsy
At least
and just
you-
trying to be funny.
You were trying to be funny.
And that's how I cope with death, is by joking about it.
Yeah,
Is that how you do it?
It
Is what
was
we learned?
fine. I didn't expect to cry. It just kind of it hit me. I don't know.
Have you noticed any changes
It's your birthday. You can cry if you
as
want
you
to.
approach 30? Because I turned 30 in about 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and things in my life are changing. Have you experienced any?
I don't think so. I mean, I keep getting more gray hairs, but that's been happening for like a year.
I'm not talking about physical.
Oh,
I'm talking about for example,
okay.
again, I'm turning 30 in about 6 months. There was, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I woke up one morning and just suddenly, without any prior history, was a fan of the band Cake. They sing "The Distance," Reliant Cake cover.
yeah.
I listened to their whole discography twice in one day, and I really
Wow.
into Cake. I'm also, and I'm about 25 years late to this party, which I can't help. I'm really, really obsessed with Conan O'Brien. Like really obsessed with
That's
Conan
all
O'Brien.
he's watched for what, the last week?
I have watched all of both of his travel shows. I have been listening to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend incessantly for 2 weeks. I have been watching bits from his various talk shows for weeks and weeks. And it's just what I'm doing. Oh, and today I bought a bird feeder and a bird bath.
Wow.
That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm handling my aging. And I'm very comfortable.
You seem
with
bird
aging.
feeder age.
I'm very comfortable turning 30. I'm excited to be in my 30s. My back hurts. People won't think that's weird now. Things like that. But also, it's
Really settling into
what's
it.
interesting to me is that I'm latching on to musicians and comedians from the 1990s when I was born. It's weird. I'm like returning to the cradle in a pop culture way.
Yeah. What is it about Conan?
So I was trying to quantify this earlier this evening because we all four of us kind of got into the Your Mom's House podcast circle within the past 4 years, like COVID time. We really were like comedy, and we all got really into comedy podcasts. I have gotten out of it. I don't listen to any of them anymore, none. But what I like about Conan is, first of all, he's insane.
he is
He's
insane.
insane. And his bit, I like that he's the antithesis, seemingly, to Ellen DeGeneres in that she is a horrible person to work for, and everyone who's ever worked for her hates her and is terrified of her. Conan is, from what I've gathered over the past couple weeks of Conan fandom, very good to his staff. So his bit is that he's terrible. There's several, and he does recurring bits. Comedy comes in threes, so he has bits where it's like, just your chair's too squeaky, so he throws it at drywall and then does it 2 more times because 3. And his assistant Sona, who's wonderful, he noticed her like really 20-year-old Jetta was like shitty. He's like, we're gonna buy you a car, and he bought her a $500 car from Craigslist and gave it to her on late night.
Oh my god.
She it's so gross she didn't want to sit in it. And I don't know, but his podcast specifically, I'm on. I highly recommend if you haven't listened to or watched it. He's only got 3 full episodes you can watch on YouTube. Other than that, it is a podcast that's meant for listening. But the Harrison Ford episode is just, Harrison Ford is kind of a famously tough interview because he's a grouchy old man who doesn't want to talk about Star Wars. But him and Conan, their chaos is like two dying stars dancing in the cosmos. They're just like fueling each other in a way that's just magical. But the episode I'm on right now is him and Colbert, and it is very interestingly
Ooh, that sounds
spiritual, reflective, meditative, sad. And I'm like, oh, and the difference for me, to go back to the YMH podcast circle that I brought up earlier, is those are a lot of like mean humor. You know, it's very rude, and Tom, like the whole injury bit, like laughing at other people's pain and blah, 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 and dragging other people down and stuff, which is funny. Yeah. I do think that's funny. Conan his show it's smart humor.
Thoughtful.
And it's thoughtful and introspective and but also really silly. He's said that silliness is his religion, or is almost like a religion to him. He's just goofy, and that's how he goes through life. And I just find him very fascinating.
You said there's only 2 videos?
Three videos.
I feel
Full
like I've
video
seen.
podcast.
Is it a new podcast? Then?
No, 2018. It's ramped up since he quit late night television.
Yeah,
It's now
I just
weekly.
feel like I've seen a lot of clips from that.
There are a lot of 9-minute, 10-minute clips they pull from it, but only
okay.
3 full episodes, and they
Gotcha.
are. I've listened to 2 of them. Harrison Ford. I watched Larry David last night. That would Carl. You would love that episode.
I'll have to check that
and
one
I
out.
don't remember who the third one was. But they're in a playlist called Full Episodes or whatever on the Team Coco YouTube channel. But enough about my 30s. Just wanted to talk about that for a little
You're
bit.
not even there yet.
Since we
You're
are,
stealing my
I'm
thunder.
gearing up. I'm gearing up by being a fan of talk show hosts. But another thing about I'm gonna watch the Oscars this weekend or next weekend.
Nah, a couple weeks.
Couple weekends?
First week of March.
Because he's hosting it,
Oh, nice.
and Danielle want to watch the Oscars independently.
Wicked's up for like 1 million awards.
So,
I wanna watch.
I'm
and
gonna tune
probably
in-
get mad because it's not going to win anything.
Oh no,
but
of course not. But
maybe one.
I'm gonna watch it because I want to see like giant redheaded Big Bird host the Oscars
Yeah.
and be a maniac. So.
I also want to witness maybe the next I'm Just Ken moment, whatever it's going to be.
I don't know if I can
yeah.
top those.
It won't be, but there'll be something.
So good, and that was made very good by Gosling.
Oh, it was perfect.
It seemed like he begrudgingly was taking part in it.
He almost broke character
He was
1,000
breaking the
times.
whole time.
Well, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so good. I watched
Yeah.
that a lot of times. I've seen it. It lives rent free.
Yeah, weirdly, I don't have a draw to watch other late night television. Like all the late night.
Well, you
hosts, I
don't
just
like
can't.
most of them.
I
so.
don't like really any. Like, I think Jon Stewart's quite smart, and I like Colbert, but not enough to tune in.
I really like Colbert.
No, I like
I've
Colbert
been
a lot.
watching a lot of the monologues since about January 20th. It's been
See, it's that time.
a good coping.
It's time to get into late night TV.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Bill Burr episode of the show, and he was talking about how he, in his old age, is kind of rejecting the internet because it's just a cesspool, and he's like buying TV guides and watching like old television shows from the '60s just as escapism almost. He's like, I want to buy a rotary phone and put it on my wall, and I'm like, I'm starting to get that. I bought a bird feeder.
You're on your phone so much though.
Have you gotten any
But I
birds
hate
yet?
it. I get on my phone and then I'm depressed for weeks.
But what would you do to get off your phone? Like, would you replace it?
I
with-
watch Conan stuff.
I feel like you got to replace. You'll have to replace with something because
No,
you're
it's just
so
different.
compulsive.
It's different phone activities. So currently, I use my phone
I
to like
see.
play a poker app
Okay,
and
gotcha.
listen to a podcast, and less like get on
Like
news.
Instagram,
Yeah, like as soon as
TikTok.
the first thing that I see on Instagram that's like bums me out, I close that. I'm just like I can't do it anymore.
It's a lot.
Like the way the country is heading now, which is just down the toilet.
Yeah.
A swastika shaped Elon filled toilet. I just can't do it. I can't do it anymore.
I
But
wrote- anyways,
then that was one angry man, and now it's time for 12 of them.
what a segue.
Yeah,
Wow,
good
what a
job.
segue. So
That was
12 Angry
great.
Men, 1957, like I mentioned, it is an American legal drama film. It is
and white.
directed by Sidney Lumet in his directorial debut, screenplay by Reginald Rose, alliterative name, adapted from his 1954 teleplay of the same name. So the film stars are you ready? Ensemble cast.
Hey.
Notably featuring, at least notable to my dumbass brain, this is the one name I pulled out, and our lead, if you will, Henry Fonda, father of Jane Fonda.
Okay. thought so.
Oh,
Yep.
I should have made that correlation.
His son, whose name I didn't write down because I didn't recognize anything he was in, was also an actor. But Jane Fonda's like a big name.
Yep.
She's like 75 now.
She's the one that had the big like 70s like flippy hair.
Yeah.
Workout videos or no?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I said yeah. Didn't know what you're talking about. Bad interviewer, bad host. This was an interesting one. This is one that ended up on my personal watch list. I have a note in my phone that's just stuff I want to watch for me, kind of, not for the show. Like, it's just for me. And it's all old shit, all of it. It's all really old movies.
Jane Fonda's not who I was picturing in my
All
head.
right.
I would just
Wait,
like
let
to
me see.
state for the record. This,
Oh, yeah, that's
this
her.
lady.
Yeah.
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 I recognize her. No. So sorry, Jane
Yeah.
Fonda.
She was probably in
Know me?
she's probably in a Greek yogurt commercial.
Definitely. She's got big Greek yogurt
She's
energy.
got big,
Yeah.
her and that
Jamie
guy
Lee.
from-
Oh, wait.
that guy from Full House.
John Stamos
Yeah.
I was going to say Jamie Lee Curtis.
from Full House. Yep.
Yep. Jamie Lee Curtis from Full House. Everywhere you look.
Before you mentioned Full House. Okay.
Fuller House. That was bad,
That was
right?
bad.
I didn't watch it.
I remember
Fullest
you,
House is going to be really good, though. There.
Can't move, it's so
will.
full. Laugh track.
Ah.
I remember you watching Full House like at my parents' house.
Really? When
When
we
our
were
moms
like
would hang out.
when we were like children?
Yeah. That show sucks. I hate Full House.
No.
So-
It was good.
Mind-numbingly paint-dryingly, grass-growingly
No.
boring.
I watched it when I was younger, and I look back on it fondly, and I haven't touched it
Don't
in
touch
a
it
while.
because it blows.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I remember being 8 years old and being like, Full House. Nope. Didn't like it. So, old movie. We're right back at it again. It feels like 2 years ago where we started with like Casablanca and watched a lot of old films last year. Like I said, this is on
Citizen
my
Kane.
list because I had seen some clips on TikTok about this movie, hilariously. Notably, the Switchblade reveal. When juror number 8 has the duplicate switchblade, and another scene that I can't recall right now, but I saw 2 or 3 scenes and went, I gotta write this movie down. It's been remade
This-
a couple times, it seems. I think there was a 1990s version.
This is, I saw that. This is
Brittany
one of
was
those
well
movies
I have no idea.
where I'm like, I love this show so much because it's making me watch movies I would never even think about touching.
Yeah.
Like, you put this movie in front of me outside the show, no way I'm watching.
Or if you're flipping through cable channels and like this is on the Turner classic.
Yeah, you're just like,
movies
nothing's on
channel.
TV.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm not gonna watch this. It's like you're flipping past this and Gunsmoke and whatever else.
What's the Walker, Texas Ranger?
Yeah, well, that's good, obviously, because
I've not seen much of that.
it's just Chuck Norris roundhouse kicking people. It's beautiful. It's terrible television. It's horrible. It's so bad. But yeah, so that's why this is on the list. I don't know why it went from my movies for me into this bucket here, but I'm glad it did. I had a good time.
Well, we just sat here one night and just rambled off any movie we thought about, and here we are.
Yeah.
So
Which I like about this. I'm more excited for this year of the show because the first year when we had the list, I was so intimately involved with that list, like it was my list.
it was your resolution
So it was
for
just
the year.
50 movies that I wanted to see, and because of that, I knew everything that was in the bucket.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, I hope we don't pick this. I don't want to watch that. I don't remember what's in there at all, and that's exciting to me.
Yeah, it'll be a surprise. Fate is gonna play a part.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't ever remember talking about this movie beforehand.
I think
like when you pulled it last week, I was like, okay,
I think I just was like, we got to do this.
In
And I
my
just wanted to-
brain,
my
and
list
that's
too.
great. I love
It was
that.
on your list as well. Why?
Yeah. Why didn't so? Well, it was one of those that you hear about. You know, it's just in the zeitgeist. And I was gonna say like, because I was doing a little bit of like watching critiques or reviews of the movie, and it was like in a lot of the top 50 movies. So
Yeah.
why didn't this make it into year one when we were doing like some of the top movies, or was it kind of cut for?
I don't
Others, or-
think I read it on any of the top 50 or 100 lists that I saw. I don't think, or I just had no interest in it. Maybe my eyes bounced off the page when I scrolled to it. Because it's not one that,
it's not very glamorous.
it's not a,
Yeah.
it
It's a
doesn't,
bottle episode for a movie.
it didn't seem like it had the same prestige that, say, Casablanca has. Like, Casablanca's referenced
Yeah.
everything. Gone with the Wind is
the
referenced
same like cultural
everything.
significance.
Singing in the Rain, like all these big hitter movies. And then there's 12 Angry Men. And I just don't know. Maybe I went, 12 Jurors, dumb, and didn't want to watch it. But then I saw clips of it and I went, that looks compelling. And I haven't seen it. Okay, I haven't seen this either. You might have seen a little bit of this show. But it gave me, the clips of this movie gave me a similar feel to clips of The Twilight Zone that I've seen. And that's not fair because tonally they're very different. But I'm like, ooh, it's the thing we talked about 2 years ago of classic movies seem like they can't be entertaining. And then I saw a clip on TikTok of this and I was like, ooh, that looks actually kind of cool. So, but it's interesting that it was on your list. So you just saw it on another list and went,
It's just one of those, like, you hear the title and you're like, okay, I know. You just recognize it later. You're like, oh, I need to probably watch that eventually.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel dated. Like, even the way they talk, like, I think a lot of the older movies we have watched, and mainly it's because they've been mob movies, but they kind of talk like, yeah, see, you know.
period pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, so this didn't feel like that. They kind of talk just like, other than some
There's a little bit of like
some
this
of it,
this guy. There's a little bit of
some
that.
colloquialisms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't talk to me like that. And that kind of like
And
the way they
how?
argue.
Yeah.
And references to things like the L train that hasn't existed in decades. And the hilarious, what was it called? I wrote it down. I wrote down. Is that a single rotating non-paper towel machine? Yuck.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
weird.
that's
And it
gross.
is called the continuous cloth towel machine. And I looked up how it works. It's pretty cool.
It just
So no, there's a big roll because it looks like it's one like loop,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
just pull it down and that goes to the back. But no, it's a big roll, and you roll it from the clean roll, and then it makes a dirty roll. And then the thing was, at the end of the day, you swap the rolls out, or when it runs out, you swap the rolls out. So it would be clean. But when I was doing my research, and there's not a lot out there on this, I found a guy on Reddit who was like, yeah, in the 70s, these were nasty because you had to just trust that they rotated them and didn't just take the dirty spool and put it right back down because they were lazy.
Yeah.
yeah, I just kind of assumed it was
Seems
like
like a good idea.
5-foot piece of
Yeah.
Yeah. But now I want to like go to my grandma and be like, did you ever use one of these? What was it like?
You'll get stories for like 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
There's
And the
probably
same
so much
one
less
3 times.
waste.
Well, yeah, but also yucky.
If they change it out. Yeah.
But no, it was very, I thought the acting performances were brilliant.
dude.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing for a movie that is like, what is it? 94 out of the 97 minutes is real time.
Yeah, I wrote that down actually when it started. I went, if this is an hour of deliberation in real time with no cuts, that'd be really cool. And it was.
Yeah. But for a movie that's that black and white and just dated, like I never would have thought that it would have got so like gripped into.
And it's interesting.
What was happening?
If you sat me down and said, write 12 distinct characters right now, I would struggle to make them different. But
Yeah.
they all were very
Yeah.
distinct.
Yeah.
And I read a part of an article called Wikipedia, and and it stated that it was a guy basically saying like, at first you want to look at the cast in a modern lens of it's just 12 white dudes, but that's the point. Is that they
Yeah.
had 12 white dudes, and the assumption is, and they make the assumption in the like in universe, we're all going to be out of here quickly because we're all the same, and we've all got to be thinking the same. And then you learn, oh nope, every one of these guys has something different that is forming their opinion or angle about
Their
the
own
case.
personal
Flaw-
bias.
flaws, biases, things going on in the background, like juror number 3, I think, and his estranged son that makes him the whole big angry guy for the whole movie. It's very, very interesting, and the performances, like I said, were great.
Yeah.
You're like, man, these are really good actors.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I loved, like you said, that it was just an hour of deliberation in real time. And at the beginning, I really loved the grounded small talk. Like it made you feel like they were real. Small talk about the weather, the stock market, the baseball game that I got tickets for in an hour, and then it gets rained out and stuff like that.
And that whole first scene where you're introduced to all the characters, one continuous shot.
Yeah, right. And oh man, the cinematography, not to steal Carl's thunder, but one of the things that was really cool about it is it starts and all the shots are very wide. And then the deeper and deeper you get into the movie, the closer and closer the shots get until at the very end, it is all faces until the 12th guy breaks. And then we relax and go back wide and we stay wide and we
I
don't
didn't
get another close-up shot.
Make that connection.
So it makes you more claustrophobic and tense. And there are exceptions to, of course, it's not a hard and fast rule like with the xenophobia guy I want to talk about in a minute. That pulls wide so that you can see everybody bone out.
Oh, that was a good scene.
I want to talk in length about that scene later.
yeah.
And not only depth like that, getting close to and far away from, they did that with like
Height. You start up really high.
You start high so to loosely talk about the plot, it starts with 11 of the 12 guys going, he's guilty, and there's one guy going, I don't know that he's guilty. Like, I'm going to say not guilty because I'm not convinced. Whenever it's 11 against 1 that way, to our main character, the cameras are really high. And then as everything kind of pivots and then they come to his side, it gets low.
I like it.
So it's like the intimidating up high, and then whenever he's the guy that's like looking at the one guy left going, what the heck? He's the one that's looking down on him.
It feels like with these older movies that the camera, and you get this in modern stuff, Wes Anderson as a huge example, that the camera is more of a character than in stuff like, I'm going to throw MCU movies under the bus again and stuff like that.
Shocking.
Like your popcorn movies, like or
Easy
rom-coms, or like
Yeah.
99% of what you see out there is the camera is merely a tool for you to look through. But in stuff like this, Wes Anderson uses cameras as almost the main character. It's a character. It's really cool.
It adds a level of dynamics to everything.
And you see that a lot with these older films that are considered classics. I'm sure, like most things, like, they say that everything in the 70s was made better because we only have the stuff around that was made good enough to last. It may be that kind of deal, like survivorship bias. Like, oh, all old movies sure are artsy with their camera. Yeah, the ones that were good enough to be remembered. Sure,
Right, because there's
Maybe
probably
there's
a
bunch
lot,
of drip
a lot
that
of
just
bad
got
movies.
washed down the storm drain of history for being just not good. So that's a bit of probably
So then in 60 years, will Marvel movies still have...
Those will hold cultural significance for different reasons. I mean, superhero movies will be an era that we talk about because it was an era
That's
that
true.
started
Yeah.
with Spider-Man and then really got and got really corny and then got an adrenaline shot in 2009 with Iron Man, whenever Iron Man came out, and then started this whole thing that's now lasted almost 20 years. Even though it's not been brilliant for arguably 5.
It was really just
We had, what, 3 or 4
Spider-Man
phases?
through Endgame.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll ever.
I mean,
peak.
same thing with Star Wars. Like, you
Recover.
don't look at the
Yeah.
cinematography of Star Wars and go, ooh, but
Yeah.
it's Star Wars. There are different things that make different movies.
I do like the cinematography of Rogue One,
Well, yes, I'll concur.
but that
with
is
you there.
different. Yeah.
But, that's not really what's for sale.
Yeah. That's an
There
outlier.
are the shots of
That's a
Rogue
good way
One.
to put it.
There are shots of Rogue One, like the Darth Vader scene at the very end, that are incredible. But it's not like Citizen Kane, where we're inventing
Oh, no.
Dutch angle.
Which
and-
when
focus.
this Citizen Kane was before this, right? Do we know chronologically? Like,
My gut says
I
yes.
think it was before. Yeah, I think that was
Citizen
what,
Kane was
40s?
1941. This was
Yes,
1957.
57.
Look at me, I
Okay.
remember.
Has anyone done jury duty?
No.
Nope.
You've
No.
never been summoned.
No.
What the hell? No. You've been
I've
summoned.
been summoned twice. No, once.
Yeah, you. We were talking about this last night,
And
and she stole my valor for one of the. She's like, and then I got one during COVID, and I went, and I couldn't go in because they canceled them. I'm like, that was me. You didn't do that. That was me.
I didn't say I went in. I
Secondhand
just
story.
remembered getting
Yeah,
seeing it in the mail.
She stole my thunder. Carl, you ever gotten a summons? Ever been?
ooh,
Really?
no. Yeah.
I did
don't know.
once witness a man getting hit on a bike
Bikes!
by a car. And I stopped and was a part of the crowd because in hindsight, if I would have known, if I would have known that I should have looked and said, okay, there's 1,000 people there, I don't need to stop.
Mac and I did that with a car crash.
But
We were like, everybody, we're good.
it was the first time I'd seen something like that. I was like, a man just got hit by a bike. I have to stop. And then
Hit
the
by
police
a bike or hit by a car on a bike?
hit by a car on a bike. Yeah.
Being hit by a bike would be funny.
But then I had to talk to the police, and then I guess the guy was suing, so he
Then you need
took
witnesses.
it to
you gotta
court,
take the
and they had me
stand.
come to court. I took time off work, and I get there, and they're like, "You can leave. The guy didn't show up."
What?
So annoying.
So that's
Wow.
the closest I've gotten.
So now he's warranting all new pool and all
Yeah.
that crap, probably so. I
Wow.
had a span from 18 to 24-ish, where every other year, I got summoned to jury duty. Like, it was 3 years in a row, 18, 19, 20. And then I had another one at 25 during COVID. So I've been called 4 times. And I was like, what the hell? And if you get called twice within a 12-month period, you can tell them, I just did this within the past year. I don't want to go. It was always a couple weeks after. So I had to go. My first time I did jury duty, I was on a trial, I was annoyed. I don't think I was at Real Truck yet. Or Autoca, whatever our job company used to be. I don't think I was there yet. So I was just working at GameStop. So like I didn't take the time off, and like, you know, they give you $15 a day or whatever. I always donate it because I'm like, whatever. So you can like choose to donate it or not accept it. So because who cares? But the first time, so you go sit, if you've never done it before, you go sit in a big pool in a horrible room where they just play on a loop, a television loop about how important jury duty is and how glad they are for you to be there and how it's a civil duty and you should be happy because it's a jury of your peers and you're one of the peers and all this jazz. And you're like, whatever. And you bring a book because they're like, if you take your phone out, you're going to be shot in the back of the head by a marksman and all this deal. The most annoying part of jury duty is obviously the waiting in the pool because you're in a pool with like 100 people. And nobody wants to be there. And one of the judges comes out always. And they have the horrible pain in the ass job of going, if anybody has a real excuse, I have chlamydia and I'm dying from it right now. I have a gangrenous wound on my left foot and I need to go to the emergency room presently. On the way here, my wife was hit by an albatross and I've got to take her to the hospital. Like stuff like that. I've got the flu right now. Barf. I need to go. But no, it's everybody's like, I'm late for work. And they're like, sit down. And it's a line of everybody, right? Like I remember the line stretching all the way to the back and then turning a corner of the room. And there were like 65 people in the line and like 10 people sitting down knowing it's not going to work. And they try to tell you like, you're not going to get to go home. So don't come up. And everybody freaking comes up. The cable guy's coming. I need to go home. It's the worst, right? Then that whole deal happens. Out of 100 people, like 2 go home because they have real emergencies. What?
How much time do they give you? Like how much notice?
Like a week or so. And then you always call, like they tell you after 5 p.m. the day before, you call and make sure you're still on. And it's always yes. So then you just sit there and you wait for a courtroom to need you. And then you go up and then there's the jury selection process. They all sit you down and there's like however many of you. And the judge asks you some questions, and then the prosecution and the defense both gets to ask you questions, and then at the end they get together and they kick people out. They go, we didn't like his answer. That's why everyone's like, pretend to be racist, they'll let you go home.
Interesting. Clearly not in this movie.
Not in this movie. Well, wow. So you sit up there, and then I got selected my first time. I'm like 18 years old. I'm a fetus. I was just kind of scared, but in a way, deeply fascinated by the whole thing. And I served on a trial. I was a kept jury member. The other 3 times I got called to jury duty, one was because I made it to selection, and then they ask you, one of the final questions they ask you is, do you know anyone in the courtroom? And I had the same prosecution lawyer from the case I'm about to talk about, the same state prosecutor. The defense kicked me out so fast. They were like, screw that guy, get him out, because the prosecution won that case. And we had to talk about the case for a little bit, and here's what it was. So mine wasn't anything fancy. It was a theft trial.
Did they always end with 12, or is that like...
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not, like, murder juries, I think, are larger. I have no idea. And murder trials are rough. Like, that's what they were talking about in this one. They had been there for 6 days. Yeah. Mine was 2 days. So it was the selection day, and then I had to come back the next day for the trial, really. So we heard some stuff. We went home. We came back. We heard some more stuff, and then we deliberated. And it took, 2 full days. I think I was home by 3:30 p.m. second day. And it was a guy who had gone to Walmart, and he had taken command hooks off a shelf and then went to the bathroom with the command hook package, right? And he put it in a Walmart bag and said, I need to return these. I don't have
like
a
receipt. Command hook that costs like
$5. So
yeah.
But he had like a couple of them. It was like $15. This was petty theft. Not anything crazy, but he just was like, I don't have a receipt. I need to return these on 1,000 cameras in 4K. Like they wheeled out the school classroom TV and we watched it happen. So we deliberated for 12 seconds.
Yeah.
We were like guilty. I was almost the foreman because you have to elect a foreman. And I was like, no, thank you. Because nobody wants to
18-year-old foreman.
Nobody wants to be the foreman because it's weird. You know, you got your notepad and you've listened to a trial for 1,000 years, and afterwards,
pressure,
and you're not allowed to talk about the case to anybody. Like I had to go home to my parents and I couldn't tell them. You know, they're like, don't watch the news. You know, even though it was for penny theft, but they don't want any outside influence. They only want the trial. Like, so they're like, try to stay off your phone. You know, we go to lunch. Like we had lunch breaks. We went with a bailiff to, it was whatever breakfast spot is where Sayulita is now, years and years and years ago. I don't think you had moved here yet. But like all this jazz, it was super cool. And we convicted him and he went to jail. And the bailiff afterwards was like, it's the 5th time he's done this. He was basically like, don't feel bad for putting a guy in jail.
It's always kind of crazy that like it was all that work, all that time for like $15 worth of command hooks.
Yeah. Don't steal shit.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's also crazy to me that just random people get selected and get to make the decision.
That's what it's supposed to be, though. It's supposed to be a jury of your... And okay.
I wouldn't trust myself in that situation.
The reason I bring this whole case up is because they touch on this kind of in the third act of the movie, towards the end of the movie. It is not your job. They try to lay it out as obviously as they can that your job is to prove that he is guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt. If there are any doubts at all that he could be innocent, he is not guilty. Yeah. It has to be like clear as day. And there's an adage, I'm not sure what, and I should have looked it up, but there's an adage or a saying by somebody important probably that says it is better for 10 guilty men to go free than for 1 innocent man to go to jail. That's like the justice system's mantra. You would rather have 10 guilty dudes running loose than 1 innocent man be in jail for something he didn't do. So, and they lay that burden on you. And it does feel like, he tried to return command hooks he didn't buy, but it felt like the gravity for my little 12 years ago self was like, this is serious. And I took it very seriously. And now I'm like, jury duty's groovy. I kind of wish I could do it again. It is cool. If you ever get a chance to do it, it's kind of neat. People get bummed out because I'm missing work and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to be at work anyway. You might as well be at jury duty reading The Hobbit while waiting to get selected and then go up and be on trials. Dope. No, I bet mine was dope because no one got killed by a butcher knife or whatever. Right. It was a dude being a dork, but
I just felt like I'm too eeasily swayed.
You'd like in this movie, you'd be juror 12
the whole time. I was just like, yeah, I agree with that guy. No, I agree with that guy. No, I agree with that guy. Which, to be fair, I think is the point of this movie. But I feel like I'm that way in real life.
I wonder if it hits different if you've. That's why I was kind of hoping that one of you guys had done jury duty or served on a trial, because I've done all that. Yeah. And it was kind of neat. Again, we deliberated for 0 minutes. We door shut. We went, so that guy's guilty, right? Which is easier with forensic evidence and cameras.
When you have him on tape. Doing it.
And it's not like he's going to go to the electric.
It was literally like, okay, and here's a shot zoomed in of him taking the command hooks off the thing, and here's him, we're following him, camera, all the way to the bathroom, and here he comes up with the bag he didn't have before, and here he is returning the command hooks that he just took off the shelf. What do you think? And the defense was like, whoa. I don't even remember the defensive arguments because I was like, that's the most cut and dry thing I've ever seen. I think we did talk for a little bit, but we were like...
just to make it look better,
Right. And I think we talked about the weather. Like, it was really to make it feel like we were like, knock, knock, knock. Like, the door closed and we're already like, knock, knock, knock. We're ready. But no, it's neat. Jury duty. Gets a bad rap. It's kind of fun. It's cool. It gives you a sense that you're doing something important as well. Mm-hmm. And one of the annoying parts for me was that everybody else was just so bummed to be there, just and I'm like, come on, this matters, kind of.
This movie definitely gave me reverence for the legal system.
Yeah, my mom used to say that one of my late grandfathers always wanted to serve on a jury and never got to.
Oh.
And then I was like, I'm doing what Grandpa Tom wanted to do. Anyway, so this movie, I liked that there were very clear tension factors outside and inside the realms of the 12 men of various degrees of anger. And I wrote some of them down. So tension factors, murder trials are often long. This one took 6 days. It was the hottest day of the year in a deliberation room with no air conditioning. The fan didn't work until it did. you're locked in. The door's locked. You're not allowed to leave until you make a decision. For real. Juror 9, the old man was in the bathroom holding things up and already stressing people out. At that stage, they're like, this is going to take 5 minutes. That kid's guilty, blah, blah, blah. And then the one xenophobe guy had a cold. Juror 10 had a cold. So now you've got sick, coughing guys. And then we get into the individual biases and reasons for not wanting to be there. The Sox playing an hour and whatever. But all those factors, it was interesting. And I experienced a little bit of that. Just dudes being like, we had a blue collar guy who was our foreman, and he was like, I'm losing money every minute I'm here. So he really wanted to get out, and I was like, I work at GameStop. Like I don't care. I was just along for the ride. I got free lunch out of it. It was dope. So, what did we think about the 12 jurors? I felt strongly about some, and then kind of not strongly about others. I thought it was a crazy cast. Juror 1 was whatever, the foreman.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of feelings about him.
Juror 2 was our shrimpy guy.
I liked Shrimpy Guy.
Winnie the Pooh.
3, so we're really supposed to, the two big hitters were 3 and 8. 8 was Henry Fonda, our main guy.
Our
and
dissenter.
3 was Angry, my son sucks.
So I referred to him as Papa Dearest in my notes.
What's up with that?
Because he was
He's a
mean
papa.
he was a mean dad.
Oh, okay.
So it was like a sarcastic Papa
God,
Dearest
I
who's
see.
like, I beat my son into being a man.
My only
And
nickname,
now he won't talk to me.
Yeah.
Well,
we haven't spoken in 2 years.
I wonder why.
They used to call us sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nickname I gave a guy was Juror 4. Looked
Yeah.
like Slugworth from Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Juror 5, I don't really remember a whole lot. Or 6.
He was the one that was in the slums and knew about the switchblades.
5 knew about the switchblade. That's for
Yeah.
he was super useful. 6,
I liked him.
Yeah.
I liked him.
I don't remember 6. A lot about 6.
6. He was like the. He didn't
looks
really
like Babe
confirm
Ruth.
much. He stood up for the old man. He confirmed the trains would be too loud to hear, and he did a few other things. But
That's
yeah, he was,
right. And he hated elderly being abused. Elderly people.
Yeah.
Being abused. 7 was a fan guy.
Baseball cap. What do you
Baseball-
mean?
yeah.
Ha!
He had a
Peanut.
Does that guy
fedora.
remind you of anybody? I can't figure out who it is, but the way he's talking.
I mean,
I
just
don't know
a
if it was
meme
like
of a
the old-
northern person, like a Yankee.
Yeah, something. He reminded me like Coach from that old show, Coach. I think he's in Modern
Never
Family
heard of that in
too.
my life.
Okay.
Oh man. Well,
8. We've
But
talked
he
about.
was fine.
8 we've talked about. He's our primary dissenter. 9 was the old guy. We
I liked
him.
the old guy.
10 was our racist guy with a cold.
Boo.
11, who is hilariously sat next to him, was our Czechoslovakian watchmaker,
He was good.
our European guy. And then 12 was handsome and had no
Annoying.
moral compass.
Yeah.
He just flew with the breeze, dude.
Well, he's in advertising.
Marketers, right?
Yeah.
Marketers, right?
spineless.
All right. If the stark contrast between me and that guy proves that marketers can't be archetypal, I don't know what else could. Because I've never been less wishy-washy of a person in my life.
No.
But there were definitely cast members I hated, and it was all the ones I was supposed to hate.
Yeah.
Like 10, racist guy. 3, angry son hater guy. 4, Slugworth guy. I wasn't sure about because he was one of the last 2 holdouts.
Yeah. Well, he kind
He
of was
seemed
quiet.
like the only. Yeah, he was just very logical.
Yeah.
Like,
But
was-
he was logical, but he kept holding on to things that I'm like, we've talked about. Like his whole deal was the old guy heard him scream and the lady saw it through the window. And it's like, we just walked the room out. He couldn't have gotten to the door that quickly. We've talked about how loud the L train is. And he's still like,
He's the
Yeah.
stockbroker guy, though, right?
I think so.
So like,
he's all about the numbers. Yeah.
yeah, I think. Yeah.
Which that would be me if I had to identify
He didn't
with
seem
the
to have
juror.
a bias, at least.
But I don't remember what turned him around.
the glasses.
Glasses
The
thing.
glasses.
Yeah.
That was the part where, okay, that's the other part I had seen on TikTok, was the old guy going, I looked at her nose, but I didn't think about it until just now. And, you can't see in bed without glasses, can you? And nobody ever wears their glasses in bed. And I was like, this dude's spitting. The old guy ended up being,
He was
I
an
think, my
observant old
favorite
man.
character in the whole.
I would die for that old man.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
Well, he had a
but
good
that other
line.
guy was like talking bad to him. I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, and you would expect him to be the racist old asshole, but he was
Right.
super great.
Yeah.
Yep.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I liked when the racist guy was shockingly being racist. He was like, "Do you think you were born with a monopoly on the truth?"
So that's
Because he was like, they're all liars, they're all this, and it was just like,
Can we talk about racist?
You know what
guy?
I mean?
spitting back.
Can we talk about
Yeah.
racist guy for like 20 minutes?
Yeah,
I'm not really. But that his he pipes up with his rampaging xenophobia several times during the movie. And one of the times,
And it gets more and more overt.
and the most overt part was for me the most poignant part of the movie, because again, you've got these 12 angry men, and they really take turns at being at each other's throats, and some side with some and some side with others, and the dynamic shift, that's the plot, Cameron, that you're describing. But I thought it was interesting to me, so he goes on his most venomous rant towards the end.
The finale? Yeah.
Yes. And what struck me was the one by one rejection of him, literal
So good.
back turning. And he starts out like very soapboxy and I'm correct and blah, blah, blah. And then once about 50% of the room like turns their back on him, he almost turns depleting. Like, right, guys? Like, right? And
It's like, what's going on in here?
One
Come
guy
on.
left and he's like, you gotta agree. And then it's nobody.
Don't you know about them? Like, pleading. Yeah.
Right. And then nobody tolerates it. And he's like, not guilty. And that's very interesting to me.
Well,
He
he
didn't
also
say not
asked that one
guilty
guy-
until later.
like he went and sat at the chair by
Yeah,
himself
'cause-
for a
but
bit.
he sits and
Because one of the
mopes.
other guys was like, we hear you now. Sit down and shut up and
Yeah,
don't
he's
open
like,
your
"Listen
mouth
to me."
again.
Right.
I have.
And I really
That was
like
so good.
That like it's just interesting to me that like they leave him, I wrote, dejected in a pool of his own hatred. But it's almost a lesson in how like racism really thrives with the silent bystander. Like there's that whole, it's not a joke because it's true, but the like if you have 11 people sitting at a table with one Nazi, you have 12 Nazis. And there's a thing floating around right now that the Germans have a word. Germans have a lot of words in the German vocabulary for like the sound a butterfly wing makes in June. Like they like really long thoughts and phrases that they have single words for. And one of the things being floating around the internet now is the Germans have a word for non-Jewish people who didn't stand up to the Nazis in 1930s Germany, and they're called Nazis. Like, and that kind of thing of how like they stamp out this racist guy by just going, not gonna tolerate it. They just turn their backs and they're like, nope, you're alone in this, you old racist loser.
Well,
And
it seems
he-
counterintuitive.
and he
like,
buckles.
Now, yeah.
and that's all
Because now everybody reacts and they just don't engage with it.
right,
And it just dies.
And
Yeah.
but that's all it takes at the bare minimum. And you would think that
Yeah.
if we have enough people in society, just go, like I'm not, nope. Let's just get up and walk away.
If only there was a parallel to something that was going on right now in America.
Maybe that's why it stuck out so poignantly to me. But it's, and the internet, of course, makes it harder because these people can find little, they don't have to rent a room in secret at the YMCA to get together and hate. They can just go on Twitter, which makes it a little more difficult. But it's why I think that kind of stuff, like the internet's not real. You know what I mean? It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And you go out in real world, and there's not, unless you're
It's
a
all
Nashville with
clickbait
Carl,
or
where there
rage
are
bait.
Nazis running around with flags all the time downtown. There's just not a lot of that, really, because they crumble as soon as you go, no. Like, no. Unless they're in the White House.
Unless they're in the White House. Then you're stuck with them.
But it's just, all it takes is just rejecting them almost quietly. I think now we need to do a little bit more shouting. But that was the most poignant part of the movie for me. That and the ending. When juror number 3 rips up the picture.
Yep.
I didn't quite get what got him to because he rips up the picture and puts his face in his hands and then he says not guilty. And I didn't quite get, I was like, what
That was
kind of got him over? Was it just a realization of his own bias?
It was a male rage swing.
That's what I thought.
Right? So it's a lot of, and this is like dudes in football, like punching holes in doors and stuff. Like you lash out at a thing that's tangential to the thing that's actually making you mad, right? So he goes and starts connecting the dots subconsciously of like these kids, like they'll never learn and they're terrible and you got to punish them and they need to be under the jail and blah, blah, blah. And then he lashes out. He sees the photo of his son on the table.
That's what
And he
gets him.
lashes out and rips the picture. And that did two things. It showed that he was equating or rather, like putting the burden of his frustrations with his own son on this kid that did or did not stab his dad or whatever. But also, he hasn't spoken to his kid in 2 years, and then he did physically to the physical manifestation of what he only had emotionally and destroyed the only remnants of his son that he had left. And that was like it finally all hit home of like, oh, I'm taking my own pain that I've caused out on this kid, breaks down, sobs, and immediately says not guilty. And then interestingly, in like the shadow that the racist like thing cast, they all leave the room. And he's just sitting there. You know, they all get their coats and they tell the bailiff we're ready, and they all leave except for juror number 8, who 3 had all the beef with at the beginning. He's the bigger man, brings him his coat, pat on the shoulder. He like strokes his shoulder with one finger when he walks around him, and I'm like, weird choice. But then
it was the 50s.
The camera goes wide again. and the camera's inside the coat closet, which is super cool, and it stays there and until the finger brushing, gross. And you know, he helps him put the coat on, and it's kind of like, oh, there's a lot of humanity in this movie.
Yeah, and like to me, the tension of the movie wasn't them figuring out did he murder this guy. It was them like unraveling who they were and their own bias.
Yeah.
Like watching each character come to that point, that was the tension for me.
You could really call the movie Juror Number 3.
Yeah.
You really could. Like, I think 12 Angry Men's a great title, but you could call the movie Juror Number 3. It's really about that guy. It seems. Now, any other points before I go into my questions I've prepared? A lot of them are about the movie. Just anything else anybody wants to say about the broader plot?
I don't think so. Not about the broader plot. I mean, it was crazy to me there were so many holdouts because, I mean, the first 2 points that bring in reasonable doubt, like, I would have been out. Right. As soon as they were like, you can't hear over the L train and there's millions of those knives, I would have been like, yeah, I've got doubt. So
right. And all of that, that's all it takes is a reasonable doubt. And you're like, yep, we can't. Because it's really that, like, the burden is on the prosecution to prove, and the defense is there to cast the doubt. To make you go,
And
you know,
when,
OJ trial, Casey Anthony murder, all that stuff.
Yeah.
When they provoked the angry guy to saying, like, I'm going to kill you. And they all
you're
just,
a sadist.
They all just look at him like, you just said,
he said
you just
he
said
would
the thing.
never say that earlier.
You just said
so you're
the
going to
thing.
kill somebody, you're going to kill him. And then he went,
You don't mean that.
we both were
mean
like,
that.
oh, at the screen.
He said the quiet part.
All right, I talked to the jury. Okay, let's, how do we feel about this movie? Boring, interesting, entertaining, too long, slog? Were we all pretty...
Definitely not too long. It's a tight hour and a half.
Yeah, 90 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, there's no
Like, there's
fluff in this
nothing
movie.
wasted.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's no fluff scene. It's like, what's not intentional in a movie? And the answer is...
A lot of things.
all of Ever After.
Wow.
The movie blows.
Ever After out here catching strays for no reason.
Okay, here's my plot question. How do we feel about being kept very separate from trial proceedings, deliberation aside? We have no... we have to parse through all the trial, like through the recounting of the details through the 12. And we do not get brought in the room for the verdict. We go right from knocking on the deliberation door to outside, where juror 8 and the old man...
I like happy endings, and this was one, I think, but I would have liked to have some more emotional resolution for the kid.
A little more show.
Because,
I
like,
thought about that.
as
but
soon
yeah,
as they showed us his eyes right before we go in with the jury, and I looked at his eyes and I was like, he's a sweet baby. He's not guilty. So I would have kind of liked to see him get acquitted. That would have probably given me a little happy feeling, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm
also
not
just wanna
mad.
know
It was like the
Who-
same angle, and he just had a smirk or like a smile or something, you know. But I don't know.
But would that have implied that he got away with it? Like, if he smirked, would that have been like...
I think that's probably why they didn't go back to him, is because it would make that... It would kind of
Kinda
make it about
open-ended.
whether or not he did it or not, and that's not the point of the movie.
But also
it's
takes
about these
away
guys.
from, like Carl mentioned, it's kind of a bottle episode of a movie. Like, you are a fly on the wall. And it would put you... I think it would spell it out too much. I really like the way it was handled, personally. I didn't even need the whole outside shot of what's your name, and it's Davis, and they walk
That
away.
felt... Yeah, I'm a cripple.
Well,
All right,
see
see
ya.
ya.
I was like,
But then
Okay.
again,
I guess what do you do back then?
What that
Add me on
adds,
Twitter.
though, I think what that adds is like, and they're just back to their lives. This is just a thing
Yeah.
that happens every day. Kind of puts it into a larger perspective in a way.
Yeah.
I really like.
No, I really liked how because they drop you into the court, the judge explains what's going on, you get that expo dump, and then we go right into it, and they tell us the facts, and we kind of learn the case as it unfolds. We're like the 13th juror member.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. Oh, it's so good.
It's a good movie. Now, are we still okay? We've seen what 9, 10, 11 or so really old movies. We like old movies.
I like old movies. You and I have watched even more, not for the show.
Well, yeah, I'm old. I'm 1,000 years old though. I really like old shit. I'm more so like Nick with his iPhones. Like, do you still, or is an old movie still an old movie? You just like new shit. I don't know.
Okay. No, I think I like old movies. Like I said at the beginning, though, it's I need to just pick up more because this is something I never would have picked up.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at. Where are you? Would you, as you're scrolling through cable in this version of the universe, you have cable. As you're scrolling through cable, are you going to stop on a Turner Classic movie for a bit?
3 years into this, now maybe yes.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good.
I still kind of have a sense of like, ugh, like I didn't want to watch this going in. Like we were out, we had dinner, and I was like, I don't want to go home and watch 12 Angry Men,
Yeah.
But then once we got into it, we got rolling. I was like, okay, I'm very engaged. I'm invested in the story.
Yeah.
So it like pulled me in, but getting it started, I was like,
I have that about every movie.
There's still a part of me every time I watch an old movie that's like shocked whenever I actually enjoy it or like actually get into the story. Like I just assume every black and white movie is going to be boring.
boring.
Yeah.
And that's
We watched
obviously not the case.
We watched the trailer ahead of this, and the trailer was shocking.
It's hilarious.
It was insane. It was like, I can't remember all the words. It was just like big adjective and big letters. Just,
With like a snippet of a scene that does nothing for you. It's like
shocking, wild,
it's really like
angry.
Trailers today aren't art, but they show
crazy.
too much.
They do show too
They
much.
do.
100%.
They show
Bring back trailers with voiceovers.
in a world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what this, it was like a captivating story about men. Like,
Man, yeah.
but the trailer was hilarious. And it did a terrible job of selling the movie.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh God, what am I going to watch?
So we've got a local theater in town that shows a lot of old stuff. And I actually get bummed out when it's too new. I want to watch more Singing in the Rains, not Forrest Gump's. So,
Forrest Gump is kind of old at this point.
I mean,
but
it
it's
is like 91, right?
something like that.
It's a 30-year-old movie, but still, like, when I see an old movie, I'm like, I want to go see that.
Yeah.
Not Jackass 3D. Like, I want to see, what I mean?
Right.
I
Moana 2.
I'm kind of the opposite of Nick. Like, I'm very drawn to old stuff. I was brushing my teeth, literally listening to Sinatra last night. Like, I'm just a 1,000-year-old person.
Wow.
So older stuff, I'm like, and part of it is that survivorship bias of, well, if it's been around this long, it has to be good. It just has to be, or we would have forgotten it. But then you watch some stuff and you're like, yeah. Like I do that with more modern classics, like Kill Bill. It's fun. It's all right.
Good
There's
movie.
just, I don't know. Yeah, something. 2000s movies are just, there's something.
Yeah. It is.
I like a
Like
lot of them.
you ever think about like how are we gonna what is gonna be our cultural opinion of in 40 years Transformers with Shia LaBeouf?
It's going to be a cult classic. What do you mean? Transformers. Rise of the Fallen.
I think it will certainly be like, man, CGI was great because it sucks now. CGI
Yeah,
terrible
it is
'cause it's all
bad now,
time crunches
yeah.
and
It's
I was
too-
blown away by those Transformer
because
graphics.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And now it's like Davy
still now they did
Jones
it.
and the earlier Pirates
Pirates of the
films.
Caribbean.
Oh
yeah.
man.
And now you get in there and you're like, that's how they're putting a third eye on Doctor Strange's forehead? You're serious?
Snapchat
We couldn't have
filters.
given that guy an extra day to work on this eyeball.
Nope.
And the thing is that like the studios are right because all you dumbasses go out and give it $1 trillion, and why are they're not incentivized
Why
to make
would they?
movies good?
I say 2000s movies, but there were a lot of great 2000s movies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fancy
I just
Menace.
didn't like Kill Bill, so I retract my statement and be like, Kill
Bill's
Bill's
all right, but like,
fine.
But we also like it's of the several Tarantino films we've watched, that's the weakest one.
Yeah.
Django and Pulp Fiction are just so much better than
Yeah.
Kill Bill.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, Django.
See, I think
Great movie.
Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. we've
Oh,
watched.
yeah, no, for sure.
Django's good though.
Just for whatever reason, when you said Django, that's a good movie.
But you like things that with D's in front of J's, like the new Stranger Things man. His
Joe.
name's Joe, but with the D.
Oh,
Stupid.
boo.
Stupid. Stupid.
I don't think it's great. It
the
didn't
new-
bother me though.
It's the new like the band Paris, like their A is a V.
See, I hate that.
It's the same shit.
That feels
I thought it was the Joe. I'd
That's
been
Joe.
saying the D.
the Joe.
The Joe.
I
was
still
like,
say
Django?
That's different
Django.
because it's at the front. But to put a different,
It's all about
like,
location.
It could just be silent at the front, but to like change a letter in the middle of a word, just
Yeah, it's not the
ugh.
same, but I hate it just as well. Just
Yeah.
as well. Let's do a very obvious hit, mid, or miss, hopefully. You tend to surprise us. I'm going to go hit. I had a blast.
I I will also go hit.
Heat. Carl.
Hit for me.
Danielle.
No, it's
No,
a hit.
hit, yeah.
It's a hit.
I'm excited you liked it. I was a little worried.
I was too.
I'm like, we're going to be in this one room for an hour and a half, and she's going to hate it.
Oh, you hate
She's
men.
going to be like, who cares? But no, you
Should have
liked
been
it.
called 12 sweaty men. Ugh.
Except for the one guy who didn't sweat. Would have been 11 sweaty
And
men.
then he did.
You're right.
No
Do you ever
hot
sweat? And he
points.
was like, no.
I wrote
don't
down,
actually.
so not hot points,
I don't have an iPad. I can't do hot points music. I can blow in this bottle.
but I did just
Hot
do that
points.
the whole time.
No, because the three people who are still
breath.
listening will turn it off.
Just passes out.
Jeez, we're gonna go.
That was not hot. Lose 1 point.
Yeah, not hot. I said, who's the hottest juror in lieu of hot
I'm gonna
points?
pull the
Yeah.
pictures. Oh, it's 12 though.
See, no, because he was annoying. So I wrote
He's
down.
attractive.
So what? I'm in charge. So I didn't write down what jury numbers they were. I wrote down as options: advertising guy, our dissenter guy, and then number 5, the guy who grew up in the slums. Those were the 3 attractive ones in my
Advertising guy's 12, right?
opinion. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
So I wrote those 3 down, and then as soon as I heard advertising guy start talking, I wrote
He's the
down,
worst.
he's being annoying about advertising, and he's being a know-it-all. So that's less hot to me.
All right.
So I think I would take either the dissenter or our number 5 over the advertising guy.
Number
Even
5's
though he's most conventionally attractive,
number
he
5's
was
got
annoying.
a Ross Gellerness.
You're right.
I didn't notice that.
He's got a Ross Gellerness about him.
That takes him down because I don't like Ross.
Speaking of the ad guy, that phrase, let's run up a flagpole and see who salutes it. Had y'all ever heard
No,
of that?
but
Do you
I
guys
loved
realize that
that.
marketing phrases like that have been around for so long?
Yeah.
And do you think he would like roll over in his grave if he knew how many we had now?
Right.
Like we got to land the plane. There's so many like dumb phrases. He'd be like,
Circle
I can't
back.
believe it. You know, I'll call you circle back.
It's all the
So much
corporate speak,
newspeak.
but run it up a flagpole because that gets shortened.
And
You
see
hear
who
that
salutes
now,
it.
but
Yeah.
and see who salutes it.
good.
I was like, I almost
There was
like
another
got
one about a
like,
cat too,
"Ah,"
right?
I loved it, huh?
Yeah, I was just
there
trying to
was.
There's another
remember
one
it.
about a cat. It was like a cat spits up on the floor and something.
So
Or
he laps
there
it
was-
up, something like that.
Yeah, there was something like that, and then they like called him out on it. Like he's like, "Now you're doing these too." Like, it's so funny. I could not believe that kind of corporate speak had been around for that long. I was like, "Wow." Like,
Something about
nothing's
this
changed.
movie, yeah, like even with like all of the racism comments, I was like, everything's the same.
And you know what?
Everything's
for
the same.
For a movie in the 1950s, it could have been more racist. Like the
Yeah.
fact that all of them are like, nope, to the racist guy. I was like, look at you, 1950s.
Look at you guys.
It made
Good
me
job.
proud.
You know, civil rights movement happening kind of presently when that was coming out. So late 1950s, early 60s. So,
Yeah.
you know.
It did make me hopeful, though. It's like, you know, there's people can find common ground. We just
Yeah.
have to listen and talk. It's like
For an hour
yeah.
in a sweaty room
Yeah.
Yeah.
with that eternal hand towel machine. Gross.
That's what we need. The hand towels.
We
That's
got to
where-
bring those back. I
We
We
love
gotta
went
the
bring
wrong.
those
idea.
back. We need more diseases.
Nope.
We're working on RFKs there, baby. Bring them back.
Oh, Juror 8. I had a mash of people that he reminded me of. Did he remind anybody else of Willem Dafoe? With maybe a splash of Jared Leto in the eyes?
I did not get that.
Talking about,
But
Maybe I'm way off base.
talking about Henry Fonda here, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
see
way he
it- I
talked.
see
He kind of
some
had some
Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. I couldn't figure out the other piece, but it was like there's something. He's got like pretty eyes, and I was like maybe Jared Leto, but I don't know. But he's definitely got like a Willem Dafoe-ness in the
I
face.
hate Jared Leto. So
That's why I didn't want to bring him up.
I hate
Now you have.
I hate Jared Leto.
I
I
know.
really hate people who love them some them, and he's one of them. Yeah. You know? I just want to hit him with a Jeep. Just
Why a Jeep
I don't know. And then I want to wash him off the windshield with a spray thing. Just eat, and just gone.
I get to add a new thing to my Cameron hate list.
Oh yes. How many strong are we?
I've gotten to add several things lately. 54.
54 things I hate. Apparently, there is
excellent.
way more than that.
We're working on
Oh,
it.
it's Carl's turn to pick.
It is
Carl's
Carl's
movie.
turn.
We don't have bloody time for
No 20
questions because
cues.
we've been talking for way longer than I thought we would. Every time pre-show, I'm like, I'm worried it's only going to take 40 minutes. It takes
Yep.
90. All right. I've got a movie.
Yeah, I'm late for my baseball game.
For the listeners, Carl is in Gashville, Tennessee, and so he can't reach his little digital hand in the digital. That bucket's very not digital, real bucket. So I've got a ticket in each hand with a movie written on it. Carl's going to say left or right. Left is my watch hand, Carl.
All right, I'm going to say right.
All right.
Oh,
so
not the watch
back,
hand.
Yeah.
This back and lay it
The
there
free
so that we
hand.
can see what we didn't get.
Something good?
All right. I'm very excited for this. There's a couple movies in here that were Disney movies that I didn't see growing up that I always wanted to. Nick is ready to kill himself.
Not yet.
We've lost David with Show Week
Not yet.
and with this episode, but we're going to get him back with Atlantis, The
Let's
Lost
go.
Empire,
All right.
which is not the one of the two. The other one in there is Treasure Planet somewhere.
Yes.
That's the one I'm kind of more excited for, but Atlantis, The Lost Empire, I'm really stoked for this. This is like early 2000s.
Carl, have you seen this one?
As a kid, yeah, but
Okay.
it's been a long, long time. But I remember really liking it and being
Yeah.
like captivated with like the exploring and all that kind of stuff. So
It's
yeah, I'm
kinda
excited to watch it again.
Steampunky, maybe in a
Yeah.
way, like the way they
That's
do
what
all
I
the
remember.
technology.
And Tribal,
is
when they get to
interesting.
Atlantis, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, there's three movies, and the third one didn't make it because Daniel said, it's not Disney. So I wasn't allowed to
Did
put
it?
in. Yeah,
What was it?
Osmosis Jones.
It's in there.
Oh, it's in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in there.
It's in there.
Oh, all right. So the three.
I'm pretty sure.
My
Ozzy
three
and
childhood
Jurious.
animated movies I wanted in here are
2001.
Atlantis, Treasure Planet, and Osmosis Jones. So
All right.
I'm,
Well, I'm
hyped for
excited.
Atlantis. This is right, Atlantis.
Good
you're
job.
locked in.
Yeah, I like Atlantis.
All right,
I
folks.
did a good pull.
Hey, hour and 35 minutes.
Oh yes, two in a row. I think this one was
go.
hour 36.
We're on a roll.
Every time, by the way, with the 12 Angry Men pre-roll credits, I'm like, Nick hates this.
Yep.
And I freaking love
Wasting
it.
my time.
I love it because it's
Put it at the end so I can skip it.
Exactly. They deserve to be seen. And on that note, we're gonna watch an animated movie that might be crap. I have no idea.
No, it
we'll
won't be
see.
crap.
Is it childhood nostalgia that holds it up in your head, or is it actually good?
Seen it fairly recently.
Well,
I don't remember when.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find a lost empire next week. Next week, we're gonna watch Atlantis. Watch it with us. Tune in. Follow us on everything. We'll catch you in the next one.